Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellency, Mr. Chairman, Your Excellencies, it is a great pleasure for me to be here with you today. Thank you for this wonderful invitation, my first visit to South Korea, and so it gives me incredible pleasure to be here and to be able to see and experience this beautiful city. Friends, Your Excellency, Mr. Ambassador, ladies and gentlemen, what better way to start than with your own words, Mr. Chairman? Good design is design that transcends construction, gives soul to goods and services, reflects the values of people and corporations, and aspires to change the world. The structures, the soul, the values, and the aspirations are all the very definition of cultural heritage. So our cultural heritage is the collective inheritance of humanity represented in its tangible assets, such as cherished ancient monuments, and its intangible assets, including traditions and values. These diverse manifestations enrich our everyday lives in countless ways. Heritage constitutes a source of identity for individuals and communities, and in some cases, a foundation for cohesion for communities disrupted by conflict or economic instability. Heritage is a testament to the spirit of accomplishment and innovation in ancient times, and a continuing inspiration for the creative process, which contributes to building open, inclusive, and pluralistic societies. We see examples every day of how heritage and creativity provide the underpinnings of vibrant, innovative, and prosperous knowledge. There are numerous ways that our cultural heritage inspires us. Every day, we are awed by the beauty and mystery of what ancient societies have left behind. Often, these historic places and monuments inspire and infuse their soul into modern interpretations. And sometimes, the interpretations are not so inspired. And our cultural heritage continues to permeate our simple everyday life, from food, contemporary art forms, and even fashion design. Last week, while on a visit to the Met Museum in New York City, I was struck by the clear influence of Byzantine mosaics, such as these from Jordan, on the designs of famous Italian fashion duo, Dolce & Gabbana, currently exhibited as part of the Heavenly Bodies Fashion and the Catholic Imagination Show, which examines fashion's ongoing engagement with religious heritage. It is this engagement which generates a creative process, and one that is self-propagating. Our cultural heritage is a living thing. It responds to innovation and changes with time and with people, opening a space for further development. This is the essence of design. Our cultural heritage can bridge divides in all its forms. It represents a common thread of human history that connects us all. In footprints that transcend time and geography, it is the outcome of people's interactions, the exchange of goods and services, and the assimilation of different values and traditions. The ties that bind our two regions are strong and old, and to this day, we continue to witness the influence of each other's heritage, as well as the hybrid results in our everyday lives through fabrics, spices, building materials and techniques, economic and social relations, and aesthetics, all elements of design. But these manifestations, these elements, are also the basic building blocks of sustainable development. Indeed, it is my strong belief that development can only be sustainable and truly effective if it includes a strong cultural heritage component. But regrettably, culture has been largely missing from the development agenda for too long. Look, for example, at the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the Sustainable Development Goals. These 17 goals have mobilized the international community through a set of relevant, achievable, and measurable goals to lift the world out of poverty and hunger, address climate change, and take action for the betterment of human lives everywhere. I spoke up about this when these goals were first adopted. As important and relevant and critical as they are, I was surprised and a little disappointed to see that cultural heritage relegated to general targets under Goals 7 and 11. The message conveyed is cultural heritage is important, but not all that important. We at the Petra National Trust firmly believe in the role of culture in development and echo the approach of UNESCO and other organizations globally, which has been backed up by much research and experience that culture contributes to making development sustainable, equitable, vibrant, and human-centered. The Petra National Trust is Jordan's oldest and largest national non-governmental organization, working to protect and preserve cultural heritage with a focus on the World Heritage Site of Petra. We achieve our mission through three main areas. Advocacy. We spearhead national efforts in Jordan and participate on the international level to advocate for the preservation of cultural heritage and the integration of culture into development policies and programs. Projects, preservation projects. We have conducted 29 preservation projects in Petra to help consolidate and restore monuments and features which were in danger of collapse or presented a danger to visitors. Our work supported the efforts of Jordan's Department of Antiquities, provided local employment, and transferred knowledge and technical capacity to concerned public sector employees. Currently, we are restoring a unique mid-century home in our capital city, Amman, that will serve as a cultural hub and as PNT headquarters. And third, education, awareness, and outreach. The PNT has developed a unique and innovative cultural education and awareness program for public school children ages 7 to 18 and their teachers. The program seeks to develop a new generation of leaders who are knowledgeable, creative, open-minded, engaged, and who are able to protect and preserve one of Jordan's most valuable resources, its heritage. Our program engages children and youth using modern educational methodologies and experiential learning to better understand cultural heritage and its values and become future leaders and advocates for cultural preservation. The program is designed to focus on both knowledge and on the skills necessary for living and working in a modern, globalized, fast-paced, and technology-intensive world. In addition to history, environmental values, and economic values, our programs foster an appreciation of beauty and the value of art, of music, architecture, and design in our lives past and present. We also encourage a respect for differences in languages, religion, and traditions, and build a sense of identity that is inclusive and rooted in heritage. We focus on building a generation of socially responsible and creative leaders. The program develops our participants' critical thinking skills and equips them as citizens with a drive, values, capacity to question, the ability to develop solutions in order to advance social progress. This is accomplished through intentional educational practices that are integrative in nature. The program provides experiences that challenge students' own embedded worldview while encouraging them to apply their knowledge to solve problems and challenges. Exactly what we aim to do today. Civic engagement components are deliberately and carefully included in our curricula. Creativity, innovation, team building, commitment, responsibility, time management, the yearning to continue to learn, to continue to develop, volunteerism, community engagement, communication, active listening skills are all examples of specific program outcomes we seek to achieve. Also, our objective is to keep culture and cultural heritage relevant to people's lives and daily needs. For older students, we include specific activities to encourage initiative, entrepreneurialism, and employment opportunities, particularly in cultural industries. To date, we have graduated 3,004 participants from throughout Jordan, including displaced and refugee students, students with physical disabilities, and over 150 teacher trainers. Our experience has shown that the skills required through a culture-based approach to education are critical for the needs of the future and its challenges. There are increasing challenges and uncertainties about future requirements that require a new approach. The Hangzhou Declaration of 2014 called for measures to include culture in development and stated that in the face of mounting challenges such as population growth, urbanization, environmental degradation, disasters, climate change, increasing inequalities and persisting poverty, there is an urgent need for new approaches to be defined and measured in a way which accounts for the broader picture of human progress and which emphasizes harmony among peoples and between humans and nature, equity, dignity, well-being, and sustainability. In Jordan, for example, the overall unemployment rate has reached 18.5% by the end of 2017 and 30% among women and youth. By the second quarter of 2018, there was a further increase registered to 18.7%. With only 38% of its population economically active, Jordan has the lowest labor market participation rate in the world. Additionally, when jobs do exist, they are often vulnerable to crises that may happen regionally, as in the case of political conflicts in the Middle East, or globally, especially economic recessions, as well as those within the country itself. This slide charts the number of visitors to Petra. Each dip correlates directly to a regional crisis in the Middle East. So tourism in Jordan is the largest export sector, the largest private sector employer, and a major producer of foreign exchange. The years 2011 to 2015, 2011 is when we witnessed the so-called Arab Spring and the political turmoil in the Middle East. They have been very challenging, actually, for the Jordanian tourism industry. The impact on income and employment, poverty, and the standard of living for communities throughout the country was really marked. And these are very real challenges. If we consider recent study findings that globally 85% of jobs that will exist in 2030 haven't been invented yet, and that 65% of children starting school would one day hold jobs that do not exist as of now, clearly we need to start doing something differently. This is where culture and education and development is critical. Our values spring from our cultural heritage. We need to ensure that the values we instill in our children, our leaders, our communities, and our systems of education and of governance reflect the best of our common humanity and its time-tested abilities to innovate and adapt. Today's lack of civility in public discourse, lack of respect for differences, rising extremism globally illustrate the urgency for a strong values-based and ethics-based approach to development. We make a deliberate effort to emphasize these values in our cultural education and awareness programs. Our approach is rooted in a real connection with cultural heritage and a respect for diversities and differences. We offer our program graduates opportunities to shine and assume leadership roles, even on a global stage, to make the changes they wish to see in their communities and for their future. Culture and development is also important to address the causes and aftermath of conflict and to build peace and reconciliation. Our cultural heritage enhances resilience, pride and identity, a sense of belonging, and tools for rebuilding. We see this in very practical terms in our stonemasonry training project in Mafraq in the north of Jordan, which we are implementing with the World Monuments Fund and with the support of the British Council. The project aims to raise awareness of heritage and to train a group of Jordanians and Syrians in the craft of stonemasonry to enable graduates to seek employment in the local stone trade, work in the construction industry, participate in heritage preservation in Jordan, and play an important role in the reconstruction of Syria when that becomes possible. In addition, the PNT introduced its cultural education programs to Syrian and Jordanian youth in Mafraq to raise cultural awareness and to instill a sense of ownership and pride in heritage among 13 to 15-year-old Jordanian and Syrian youth. 254 young people participated in this pilot project, almost 70% of whom are Syrian nationals, and over 56% are girls. Gender equality, women empowerment, and also very important components in our programs. Cultural heritage, cultural and creative industries, sustainable cultural tourism, and cultural infrastructure are also tools for revenue generation, particularly in developing countries, given their often rich cultural heritage and substantial labor force. In Jordan, according to the World Travel and Tourism Council, tourism accounts for just under 20% of the country's gross domestic product. It's a very important sector. The global tourism industry is a robust and is a powerful contributor to the global economy. Cultural tourism that relies on tangible and intangible cultural assets accounts for 40% of world tourism revenues. Additionally, cultural and creative industries represent one of the most rapidly expanding sectors in the global economy, with a growth rate of 17% in the Middle East, 13.9% in Africa, 12% in South America, almost 9% or 10% in Asia, 7% in Oceania, and 4.3% in North and Central America. Culture underpins creative industries and locally based businesses. Many of the opportunities and benefits of cultural-related industries and activities accrue directly to local communities, particularly women. Promoting this sector requires limited capital investment, involves low entry barriers, and can have a direct impact on vulnerable populations, including women. There are many examples in Jordan of how creative industries are becoming a big part of the culture economy. According to UNESCO reports, investment in culture and creativity has proven an excellent means to revitalize the economy of cities. Today, many cities are using cultural heritage and cultural events and institutions to improve their image, stimulate urban development, and attract visitors as well as investments. Our cultural heritage provides management techniques, local knowledge, and value-based approaches to manage resources sustainably and protect our natural environment. Many environmental challenges, such as depleting water resources, overconsumption, shrinking forests, and disappearing species, are rooted in a disconnection between people and their natural world. We can make much headway to address these by embracing positive practices embedded in local knowledge. The Nabateans, for example, were excellent water harvesters and managers. They built a complicated and carefully balanced hydrological system of cisterns, dams, and water channels that enabled their capital city, Petra, to thrive for thousands of years in a water-scarce environment. This knowledge continued to serve the local communities of Petra. Today, in our programs at PNT, we study and reintroduce this local knowledge and harvesting techniques to our students. We focus on the value of water for our societies, as well as the importance of innovative engineering solutions to ensure its responsible and sustainable use. Our students learn to find a respectful balance with their natural environment and to develop a sense of responsibility towards their community and its natural setting. Cultural heritage unleashes creativity, appreciation for beauty, and focuses on the individual, the human aspect of our development. And I want to take a few minutes to introduce you to two young men. Rakan and Bashar. They're aged 15 and 16 respectively. They're two of our students of whom I am exceptionally proud. They come from the small and poor village of Dlaga in the Petra region. Its total population is 1,445 people. It suffers from high poverty and unemployment and is completely excluded from all benefits of tourism to Petra. After participating in our programs, Rakan and Bashar discovered their love for art and sculpture and the value of their cultural heritage. We have since provided them with an opportunity to train with one of Jordan's well-established artists, Hazem Namrawi, to develop their talent and produce marketable crafts and participate in the culture industry sector. They have found a niche, discovered a talent, and invested in a future that celebrates beauty, culture, and design. They aspire to become artists and have already made significant impact on a very conservative community that previously placed little or no value on culture. They've been featured as guests in Jordan's top-rated and most-watched morning television show and are now very vocal advocates for design and for cultural heritage. And their story is many of such stories that are the result of the work of the Petra Nation Trust with local communities. It illustrates why partnerships are important and why governments must commit to working with civil society and the private sector to achieve sustainable and effective goals. This is especially true for culture, and looking at all of the faces around me, I see that this is definitely a reality in this hall today. More often than not, it is civil society that is more specialized in its field of interest, has the necessary technical expertise and international network of support, and is better able to reach marginalized and local communities. In Petra, PNT has been working for 30 years to ensure that international conventions, regulations, and guidelines governing the management of cultural heritage resources are understood and implemented to protect and preserve monuments, nature, intangible aspects, and integrity of World Heritage Site of Petra. The continuous changes and the impact that impact government institutions and political pressures and economic forces often disrupt continuity. And so the capacity and continuity need to be maintained by partner organizations. And this is where these partnerships become very, very important. To illustrate this, World Heritage Conventions, for example, prohibit the use of concrete in World Heritage sites. Yet, there was a design disaster in heritage last year when a road was built using the use of heavy concrete. This is obviously very ill-conceived and very ill-planned design. And this is where design can make a huge difference. We see a similar situation in the area, the buffer zone surrounding Petra. There's heavy use of concrete in what has been described as an eco-village. The World Heritage Center, when visiting Jordan, described this as eco only in name and nothing else. Here again, we need design that is responsible, rooted in cultural heritage, to move this process forward. Site uses. Site uses is another area for us in cultural heritage where partnership with the design community can become a very useful tool in moving the process forward. This, for example, is a wedding, which is not considered a responsible use of a World Heritage Site. And so multi-sector partnerships and collaborative missions are essential for design, for sustainable, for equitable, and for responsible decision-making, and at the end of the day, the effective management of cultural heritage resources and effective development. It is the only way to fill the gaps and to include that there is a balance between the protection of cultural heritage and the beauty and integrity of cultural resources and the demands of investment. To do this, culture must be a central and integral component of development. We, as the concerned international community here in this room, really must work together. And this is what I would like to urge, actually, at the end of this presentation, that we have to work together, regardless of diverse interests and diverse backgrounds, to ensure that development policy, strategies, and projects incorporate a strong cultural heritage component as a priority in national, regional, and international levels. Culture-led development results in a wide range of benefits. Some are measurable, such as addressing the economic and rights-based dimensions of poverty and providing innovative solutions to unemployment, and building local small industries. But other benefits are more difficult to monetize, yet no less important. This includes social inclusivity, identity and belonging, resilience, innovation, creativity, and entrepreneurship. Culture and development revitalizes and promotes the use of local resources, skills, and knowledge. It influences lifestyles, individual behavior, values, and people's relationships with each other, their communities, and the environment. This, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly what design does as well. Thank you very much for your time and for listening.